The coyote is one of the most elusive, cunning, and downright intelligent of all animals in existence today. The fact is, his body ranges from 30 to 50 pounds, and that means he has the ability to catch and eat anything from grasshoppers to rabbits to white-tailed deer. If it was not for need to eat daily to maintain his large body weight, the average hunter would never see one, much less be able to hunt him with any amount of success. It is through his large appetite that we as hunters can match wits on his grounds. Until recently, most of the coyotes were west of the Mississippi River. Today, the coyote's range east of the Big River has expanded coast to coast. His large numbers has expanded at an alarming rate. The groundhog is almost an animal of the past in the east. The rabbit population is strained, and domestic dogs and cats are now in danger of being eaten because the coyote calls very little. To be serious about coyote hunting, one needs to play the wind, call properly, learn to read sign, stay clean, use a coyote cover scent, camouflage, and be willing to walk several miles a day. Rejection is common. Discouragement is usual. Disappointment is a reality. But when success occurs, how sweet it is. Remember, regardless of how a cartoonist portrays the coyote, the fact is, to be a successful coyote hunter, you will be put to the test of your life for patience and matching the intelligence of one of nature's true survivors. It was once said that when the world ends, the coyote and the cockroach will still be here. So load your gun, practice on your calls, and maybe this winter, when cabin fever sets in, you'll catch coyote mania and meet the challenge of calling into gun range an elusive coyote, thus beating him out of his winter coat. David knows a good den area along a brushy bottom, and he and Harold will try a setup here. It's good to glass these areas before you move in to set up. Well, Harold's got his Mossberg 835. This'll definitely put more than one bullet in the air.
Last night, we was howling out here. It was coyotes howling all up and down that mesquite area right there.
There's a creek down there, ain't it?
It's a creek down there. This is a good place. I heard probably 4 or 5 different bunches of coyotes howling down here last night.
Well, you say let's try to call up something in here today.
All right.
Boy, we can see good here, too. Did you notice?
Harold spots a coyote a couple hundred yards out, and he looks interested in David's calling. Now he's on the move and coming straight in to the call. When he stops at 100 yards, David can wait no longer. Great shot.
That's a big old coyote.
What do you think, Bob?
That's a big one. Man, I didn't, you know, them others we killed ain't been that big.
Reckon eat rabbit 3 times a day?
I mean,
Quail?
he'll eat everything he can get down.
Let's go try another one.
Let's go.
Bill, the hunt we just looked at was a Texas hunt, and I have found out one thing, and I know you can relate to this big time, Harold. Coyotes are easier to see, might be a little bit easier to call in Texas. What's been your experience, Bill?
Oh, definitely. The western coyote, you got a lot more open terrain on it, and they're not messed with as much as they are here in the east. Because what we got to remember, that when the coyote crossed that Mississippi River, he came into the highest population of hunters in the United States. And the more coyotes being hunted and learning all the tricks, the smarter he's going to get. And then western coyotes, they're not as educated as what there are over here.
Well, don't you think that the basic calling techniques are about the same?
Basically, yeah. They're kind of the same. Now, what we've done over here in the east, and you know, me and Harold's played with this experimenting, you know, since we've been going at this for the last 4 or 5 years, is that we have developed some calling systems like the stress of the coyote we're going to talk about, and staying on stand longer. You know, when we first got into this, David, we was probably leading the pack on the eastern coyote in ways of developing. And in the last few years, they have taught us a bunch, haven't they, Harold?
They'll humble you. I tell you what, a coyote, first off, hunting coyote, I think he's one of the smartest animals I've ever hunted in my life. An old adult coyote is.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I take them as being a trophy. A lot of guys talk about, you know, you got to have a 10-point buck for a trophy or a big cougar for a trophy. You get out here and you kill a mature coyote in the eastern United States, you have just harvested one of the most intelligent creatures you're going to deal with.
Well, let's talk a little bit about calling and how the average hunter can basically get into this thing. And I know from experience that we probably see more coyotes when we're turkey hunting and deer hunting than we actually do when we're coyote hunting.
Right.
I think that's one reason for that, David, that we setting up on the stand deer hunting, we're sitting still a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a chance that coyote to run by you, or you know, you get a place where you can see. And turkey hunting, a lot of times I think these coyotes come to a turkey call.
Oh, they're very fond of turkey meat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I hear that. And you know, speaking of turkey hunting, we had 2 or 3 different experiences just last year alone when we were calling turkeys, saw the turkeys coming, or they were in the field, and coyotes started stalking them. And the moment that happens, first of all, you know that the party's over with the turkeys on your end of it, because they're going to leave because of the coyotes out there. So why not just change gears and have a little more fun, come back to the turkeys later on? And you know what, you can take a little 2-reed mouth diaphragm, instead of yelping on it like a turkey,
Squeal it.
you can squeal it, or you can even go ahead and yelp like a turkey. We'll leave that to their own imagination, because most anybody can use a turkey call.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the rabbit squeal with the turkey call first of all, and then we'll look at some footage of some actual hunts where we were turkey hunting and show how they responded just immediately. And you know, the great thing about this, you don't even have to be a good caller, because he's already in a hunting mode. The key to it is you've seen him first before he sees you. He's totally unaware of anything that's out of the ordinary. He's already seeing his prey species out there, and all of a sudden you change his mind to a dying rabbit, boom, he's coming.
Any distress sound, when you spot that coyote before he spots you, he's going to come to you.
He's coming.
Now, he's going to come to
Well,
you.
it's like David said, they're in a hunting mode. He's out there looking for something to eat. You just rung the dinner bell for him. Yeah. And these little things right here, I tell you what, they're just poison on him if they're used at the right time.
Or when not, in most every instance that I've ever tried using a mouth diaphragm on a coyote, if I saw him first, he responded instantly, came right to it. Just very, very exceptional cases where it didn't work. Because again, the key to it is you saw him first. and he's unaware of anything that's unnatural. Your scent, you're driving up in a vehicle, any of this stuff that would deter it. Now, how will you make, and I can explain it very easily, but I want you to because you're one of the better coyote hunters in the country. How would you make a dying rabbit sound?
You just take the turkey call, David. You put it in the roof of your mouth, just like you would for normally doing it. Apply tongue pressure to it and say the word we.
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 All right, now what are you imitating right there?
Rabbit. A cottontail rabbit.
All right, now, you know, you just don't walk down through the woods and hear a cottontail rabbit doing that. What's happening to him?
Well, something's attacked him. Something's got a hold of him. And this is where we have to, I think rhythm is real important into it. I like to get into it and start off like in the scenario that you're giving, when them turkeys, around a turkey field or something other, we don't want to hit it rat, rat, rat real fast. Just let him know you're there. Because what happens most of the time is when hunters are using calls, they're moving. And what they got to realize is every sound they're making is giving away their exact position.
And he can see and smell.
And he sees. And he can detect anything it is, and he's got your position pinpointed the minute you make that sound.
That's the way he survives.
Right.
It's the way he eats.
Well, it's been said that on the right conditions, a good calm morning and stuff, that a coyote can zero in on a mouse squeak at 20 yards. So that tells you something. If you hear something that, I mean, they got you down.
Well, let's get back to that mouth diaphragm a minute. You talked about rhythm being the very most important thing a while ago. Now, obviously, we've all coyote hunted. We know what you're talking about. But for the viewing audience's sake, this is an educational deal here on how they can learn to do the same thing. They say, okay, you're imitating a rabbit, but what's a rabbit doing? I mean, what kind of rhythm are we talking about? Is he a dying rabbit? What's the size? How long do we do it in this type thing?
Okay, David, probably the first thing we want to zero in on is the length of the call. I feel like most hunters using any kind of call like this overcall. And that's one of the worst things you do. And that's why we got educated coyotes around here. Because a guy will get in a briar thicket and he'll just hammer, hammer, hammer. And what you got to realize, that rabbit's lung is about the size of your thumb. He can't sit there like this. If you're hammering away, hammering away, hammering away, you're imitating a 50-pound coyote. And I like the 50-pound rabbit, I mean.
That's a big rabbit.
Yeah. Start off simple, but what you want to do is the initial attack. Use your imagination. A rabbit's out there, and all of a sudden, let's say a house cat gets him. And then he chokes on him. Start high, taper down. But as you can see, I put in about 5 to 6 what I call notes. And that's it. I cut it off. And then I'm going to allow at least 2, maybe 3 minutes of silence.
All right. I noticed a lot of electronic calls is just a
Continuously.
continuous sound of that sound. Now, mouth calls and some of the other calls is good to use with electronic calls at times.
It's a good combination. Now, one of the things that I'll do is, and like with most of them, I'll use my control on electronic callers. I'll cut her down. Or some of the tape type, I modify my tapes. I just cut it out with silence in it. You know, back in the old days when we first started hunting, we spent about 45 minutes on a stand. Well, the coyote population's increased around here now. We got a lot more of these things.
Absolutely.
And you're going to have more coyotes responding quicker. And I say 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes is all the guy needs to do on
And that's
stand.
really a long time.
That's
It's
a
been
long
my
time.
experience. If they're not there in the first 4 or 5 minutes, he basically is not coming unless he's out hunting and coming into your sound.
Right.
Now, some of the questions is asked to me a lot of times, how far do you move then?
That depends on your terrain, Harold. I used to think that, you know, we got to get 1.5 miles, 2 miles down the way. Not necessarily anymore. If I'm in an area that's showing a lot of sign, and I know a lot of coyotes are there, I might move 500, 600 yards and use a different sound. Because you're still representing something in the stress. Today, the way I hunt today, I like to say go in and use a cottontail distress, and then maybe go 500, 600 yards or a quarter mile on down through there, set up and use a bird distress or a pup distress or something like that.
What do you use a pup distress with?
I mean, how do I make
what
it?
do you
Well,
make it
you
on?
can get it on this right here, but like I say, right there is one thing I never go to the woods without, is my mouth diaphragm. You can do a pup distress, one of these real simple, and then you can do an adult distress. And this is something that a lot of guys ain't tipped in on, and well, like I say, we've come up with a lot of the stuff we've been doing, and now we're going to be telling some of our secrets. I found that back in the old days, when we'd call, maybe one, if we was lucky, 2 coyotes would come into us. Today, nothing surprised me. I've had as high as 9 come in, wham, because the coyotes have, what do you want to say, educated themselves to the terrain. They've learned that by hunting in packs, they can increase the amount of kills they get, and especially on deer.
Well, before we get into any more detail, let's take it one step at a time with different hunts that we've been on. On the using the mouth diaphragm while you're turkey hunting, we had an experience last year, Harold. We were down in Mississippi on an island. We were turkey calling. Looked up in the field, and I was the one on the camera, sitting over a hunter. We was trying to call up these turkeys, and I saw them all of a sudden just dart out of the field. I knew we had spooked them, and I caught something out of the corner of my eye, and there was a couple of coyotes stalking. We immediately changed mode, and as you will hear, the actual sounds in this video, it wasn't great calling, but the point of it was it didn't need to be. Right. So, and I think the great indication here is that anybody under the proper conditions can call up a coyote. And I'll be honest about it, I can go back and find a turkey. It's tough to call up a coyote, and I enjoyed that about as much as anything. I think we need to share that with the viewing audience.
I'm ready to kill him.
Yeah, 20, get up here. You know, as you can see, Bill, that started out being a great turkey hunt, wound up being a great coyote hunt. We didn't have a rifle, so we had to wait till that coyote got close. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the coyote came right dead to the calling. It was in a hungry mode again. And let's talk a little bit about equipment here. I wasn't in a coyote hunting situation, although it turned out to be. We're coyote hunting. We're going coyote hunting. What equipment do we really need as far as weapons are concerned?
Well, you know, for years when we first started, we thought we had to go with the long-range centerfire rifles because we was doing it on the western mode of hunting, the open terrain stuff, where you got to get them in. You know, if you get them in 100 yards, you've got done good and everything. And David, I'll tell you what, in the last 3 or 4 years, I bet I haven't carried my long-range rifle out a dozen times. I went strictly with shotguns and handguns and bow, as I'll get into here in a minute. The shotgun is multiple firepower. That's
my favorite.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, because like I say, we're getting packs of coyotes in here now. And when a guy gets 5 or 6 coyotes moving in on him, he wants to do as much as he can.
Well, what kind of rifle would you suggest using?
Well, the 22 centerfires, the 223 and the 22 250 Remington and the 220 Swift. Now, them's the top 3. And this handgun I use a lot, and I'll tell you why, because it's convenient and stuff. This is a 223. Back in the old days, we didn't have this stuff. I mean, when we was running all over the country, you know, as we done in the other videos and stuff, we had them long-range rifles and pack around. We'd walk all day. I said, no, that ain't for me, brother.
Well, one of the things I found out, you're hunting coyotes basically late and early.
Right.
You need a scope on these guns that'll seek all the lights you can get. Of course, we put a light seeker scope on this particular gun here. A light seeker scope takes in light. I guarantee you it'll give you that extra 5 or 10 minutes that you might need just for coyote hunting.
Hey, the coyote is basically a nocturnal animal. He's walking around with 2,000 rod cells in each eye.
You know what? A lot of people think the only time you can kill one is real late or real early, but they, you know,
They're dead wrong.
you can kill them, you know, up in the day a lot of times. It just depends.
Temperature controls their habits a lot.
Speaking of that, you know, we talked about the mouth diaphragm a while ago. I've got one of those in my billfold all the time because I can use that deer hunting, I can use it turkey hunting, I can use it to make any kind of a distress sound, and it is easy to do. But I also recommend, and Harold, you can certainly verify this, we carry a mouth squeaker, which is easy to put in your pocket, and you might want to talk a little bit about that.
Well, this little call right here is what I call foolproof.
Foolproof.
And I tell you what, anybody can use this call, and I certainly take it with me every time I go deer hunting, every time, a lot of times when I go turkey hunting, because I know a couple of times this year I had it with me. One time I had it with me deer hunting, and I saw this coyote before he saw me and the cameraman, and actually called him up and shot him in the bow.
Well, show us what kind of sounds you're making on that, Harold.
This thing is very versatile. You can take it and make your high pitch like a bird. You know, a lot of times it's just coyotes feed on your bird.
Coyote's going to eat anything he can get his
and
mouth
you
on.
can the stress sound of a bird like that. And it's easy to do, and you can do it for a long period of time. But another little sound you can do, you can take the sound and you can make a real low sound. You know, a lot lower, like, or going. You know, it just depends on the acoustics out there, how loud you need to go.
And how far you want to go with
Let
it.
me see that again, Harold. See how easy that is. You were just holding that in your hand.
Yes,
Now, you know what? Anybody can do that.
and that's effective. They'll come to it.
Well, I'll tell you what I've learned, and anytime I pick up my bow, you'll see one of these taped to my riser, right down at the bottom of the riser, because I have taken a bunch of coyotes sitting on a deer stand, and you can bring that bow up and you can pull that thing back, wow, and there's all over it. Boy, I tell you what, them things right there are worth their weight in gold.
You know, it's pretty embarrassing to me. I missed one with a rifle. I missed a couple with a rifle and shot and hit one of the bows.
You know,
It doesn't say a lot for his marksmanship, does
let me
it?
tell you what, anybody that ever takes a coyote with a bow has done something. And Harold, we were filming a deer drive last year when you spotted that coyote.
But I had my call with
You
me. I
had
was
your
ready.
call with and you pulled out because he wasn't coming directly at
No.
you, and you turned him right around. Before we give it away anymore, let's share that with the viewing audience.
I want to see this myself.
Well, what'd you see?
3 deer and a big old cow.
I don't even have to ask. It could have been a big buck. You'd have shot the coyote, wouldn't you? What happened?
I think that cow was coming. I pulled out the little squeaker, wants a squeaking on it, and that dude comes marching up there. And when he did, all I could see is back in. I said, "That's good enough. I ain't gonna take anything."
Where'd he go?
Well, we hit him right out here, and he went right yonder way.
Have you found any blood yet?
Yeah, we'll find blood. You can
Well,
go
let's get on it.
You notice he hadn't went uphill and he's going on the level ground all the time. We're downhill. Right here.
You know what? That's been 200 yards now, 300 yards, something like that. That joker's going. Now,
Well,
they're tough.
I told you I didn't hit him in the ribs or anything. I hit him in the back end. I tried to hit him in the back leg because, you know, these broadheads going through the back leg. I've killed cows doing
Well,
that.
the way he's bleeding, he ain't gonna be much further. Let's go. Here you go, right here. That joker came out the edge of this field right here.
Yeah, he ain't gonna go across that field. He's gonna
He's going right through here. There's more blood right there.
There's a fence down here too.
Look yonder, yonder he is right yonder.
Right that fence. See there, boy. That's hit him right through the leg there, didn't it?
Buddy?
That's a big old dog cow.
I would say he's eating his last rabbit.
Harold, you know it looked like to me you're better with a bow than you are a rifle.
I tell you what, that was embarrassing. Missed one with a rifle and then shoot and kill that with a bow. You know, I asked David and Chuck the other day, I said, how come I'm always the one that gets caught missing? And
And the answer to that
both
was-
answered, said, I do more missing than I do.
No, he's one's always on camera. That's what
one it is.
But
He's
let me say something about the call you used during that particular hunt, Harold. That call also will make puppy whining sounds, which is also another food chain of the coyote. Show how you demonstrate that.
Yeah, and it's real easy too, because you're just inhaling on it. Going,
Now, Bill, explain what that means.
Okay, you're ringing the dinner bell for him again. I mean, when that coyote hears that, it's an easy meal. And people think that a coyote won't get a domestic dog or your house cat. Dead wrong. Boy, I mean, this is one of the most effective calls that I've ever used, are the distress sounds of a canine. And that's the puppy there. And with this right here, when I set up the call and get them coyotes in, lots of times I can take this and imitate the sound of a wounded adult. Just and I've had them respond to it, and if nothing else, they'll stop and look over that shoulder like, man, what's that? Something's wrong here. Joe's in trouble.
they just like anything in distress. don't
Right. When they hear a distress sound, they're going to respond.
But normally speaking, when you talk about the diet and ringing the dinner bell, the mouse is his biggest
Oh, yeah.
diet, right?
Right. Mice, rodents of any kind, they really go for it.
Well, let's talk about I'm a novice hunter for a coyote. I've got an area to hunt. How do I read sign? We're talking mice, we're talking rabbit, we're talking, what can I do to read sign to know that there's coyotes there?
Okay, David, one of the things that I like to clue in on, first of all, a good acknowledgement of the area. Because a rodent's going to go in where like corn, soybeans and stuff. One of the best ways to find a good rodent population are birds of prey. When you see an area that's got a lot of hawks and owls in it, you've got a high rodent population, because the owl and the hawk is competing against the coyote and the fox.
They're feeding on the same thing.
They're feeding on the same thing. But them birds, they got the advantage.
Well, you said fox. We got fox, coyote, and
Yeah.
birds of prey.
And I mean, once I find an area like that, I'm gonna go in. And I'm gonna learn, that's where I'm gonna distinguish where I wanna set up. Because there's one thing that's real important, is where you set up. And unlike the days when, like I say, we've learned a lot over the years, I want an area that I can move into quietly, keep my silhouette away from it, get up against a tree, and if a road is there, that makes it even that much better.
Now, why does a road make it any better?
Because the minute you start calling, that coyote's gonna take the path of least resistance. The quicker he can get there, because you gotta remember, he's competing against his buddies out
You
there.
know, if you walk down old log roads and everything, you see a lot of coyote scat.
Right.
And that tells me they go up and down those roads a lot.
Well, the scat also tells me something else, tells me what they've been feeding on.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go in and try to set up with my call.
Well, now, how can I tell the difference now when I'm looking at tracks between a coyote and a domestic dog?
Pretty easy. First of all, a coyote's got two different sides on his feet. His front feet is larger than his back feet. Because Mother Nature equipped him to scratch a mouse out of the ground and blink an eye.
Dog's not that way.
No, dog is not like a coyote. Now, they'll be a little bit larger. Another thing, this coyote track is real narrow. His back feet is real narrow. And so when you see a real narrow looking canine track, chances are you're looking at a coyote. And when you see the difference in it, I'll say the front foot is approximately 1/3 larger than the back. A domestic dog, he's not even really close enough to tell.
What about the shape of the pad? Is there a difference there?
Not a whole lot. It's just more narrow. The coyote's got a narrower foot than most of your domestic dogs. It's kind of like a Magnum Red Fox track, really.
Or when you talk about the mouse and the squeaking and all this and that, obviously we're going to look around areas where there's corn and soybeans to find it. You're going to look for old roadbeds. Does a coyote different from a gray fox in that he hunts the open fields? He goes down the difference between a terrain versus another, like a thicket versus open field?
Now, he's going to hunt wherever he can find food, but from my experience, a coyote's going to use an ecotone. And what that is where two different types of masses meet. Have a field here and a thicket here. That coyote's going to follow right along the edge because he's got a chance of getting the rodents out in the field. He's got a chance of getting rabbits and other prey out in the thicket. He knows that by following that ecotone, he's increasing his odds by 50%. And that's where you want to set up, and that's where you want to look for it.
We're talking about another hunt that we might want to share with the viewing audience. We were turkey hunting once again, and to illustrate the point that the coyote was coming across a cornfield. He'd been hunting, he came across a cornfield, he was hunting in a cornfield. We were turkey hunting next to the edge of a cornfield. Boom. We saw him change to a squealing. Let's share that little piece with the viewing audience.
I'd like to see it.
But as the day went on, you know, we went back out there to the field because that was a good bean field there where turkeys had been using all winter, and it was flooded out. And there's lots of sign around there, lots of tracks everywhere, and we set up. And we were filming, and Chuck looked over there and said, "Yonder comes a coyote." We kind of shifted gears a little bit and took that little old mouth diaphragm, and instead of calling turkeys, we called coyotes. Now, that was quite a deal, wasn't it?
Well, it just shows you how effective and how versatile your calls are. That coyote was clearly going the other direction, didn't want any part of us. Lo and behold, he did a 360 and came right in.
Well, the interesting thing about coyote hunting is I've always said a coyote is easy to call if you can get to him without him knowing you're there. That's the key to it. Any kind of a sound with a hungry belly is going to make something come to you. So that's exactly what that deal was. And I will say one thing, the 3.5-inch 4s of Winchester smoked that coyote quick. Now, Bill, on that particular hunt, I had a mouth diaphragm again, and I want to talk just a second about some of the product that's offered. Now, we offer a coyote howler kit.
Right.
We've had it on the market for some time. It has a mechanical squealer, a mouth diaphragm, an audio tape that tells how to use it, and also a howler. Now, we hadn't gotten into the howler, nor have we gotten into the mechanical squealer that comes with that particular kit.
Keep the best for last.
Well, let's
All right,
talk about
I
that.
want to know when you howl. What's the purpose of howling?
The purpose of howling is locate the coyote, get him to answer back at you.
When?
Well, my favorite time is before I ever start hunting. Now, I mean, I take it serious, and if a guy wants to really learn how to do this, what I call is speed locating. And the night before I get ready to hunt, I'll take me a map, and I'm gonna chart me a course. And I'll go about every quarter of a mile down that road, and I'll hit him with a howler.
All right, if he answers you?
Yeah, and then when he answers me, what I like to do is just get out and kind of mark the road, because I automatically know where that coyote is. And I'm talking about, say, like if you're going to hunt early in the morning, I like to get out there an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours before daylight, because that's when they're the most active. It's
In other words, you
pre-dawn.
locate them, then come back and hunt 'em.
Right.
Okay.
And when I just go to the end of the round, and I got all my coyotes located, I come right back, and I go in with my prey species and on. And it's not nothing fancy to it.
All right, what do you try to sound like? One coyote? Two
One
coyotes?
coyote. One coyote. If you
Okay.
got a partner that can use it, you're just enhancing your chances even more. And for basic howling, all I do is take the easy howler, and I just and let it go. See, we heard that echo way over there. And usually that coyote, he'll fire right back at you. Well, what I do is just take my pad and pencil, and I mark down, say, like location 3, coyote due east. Wham, going down the road. Pop me another down there. Then by the time I get there, it's getting almost daylight.
You know, I used to do that right smart when I was really, really into coyote hunting, but I always went, especially in February, around cow pasture fields because they're following those cows that's having young. They're eating the afterbirth and they're feeding on maybe weaker animals.
Yep.
And boy, you could just about invariably when you want to find coyote and coyote sign, you get around them old cow pasture fields where there's cattle, you're going to find it. And I guarantee the farmer will love you being a coyote hunter.
And you know, the time to hunt them too is right after a big, heavy freeze, cold spell.
Right. They've burned up a lot of their energy.
Yeah, and then the moderating weather comes out, and that's a good time, looks like me.
When a bill on that particular mouth diaphragm, the little 2-reed, most people may not, or a lot of people say, I can't put one in my mouth. What do we got as an alternative?
You got the rabbit squealer, mechanical rabbit squealer.
It comes in the coyote howler kit.
And if a guy can't use this, he can't breathe.
All right, we'll show us how to use that.
You just simply take it, put it between your thumb and your forefinger, and just go.
With the same rhythm.
With the same rhythm. Just. And you're right down to 5 notes. And like I say, if you can't use this, you can't breathe.
Every call we've demonstrated, except one, has been a distress call.
Right.
Coyote howler has been, just a bark.
Well, we're making this to show the advancements that we've learned over the years. And as David said, getting around pastures in the early part. Now, what has happened is, depending upon the geographical location, but here, most of the places, the coyote will start mating in late January and run all the way through March. And what has happened is cow droppings is full of protein, calf scars. And what these coyotes will do will concentrate on this. And what you've got out here, you've got a bunch of single young coyotes that probably has not mated. And the lone howl represents a coyote wanting company. That's why coyotes communicate. And yes.
Well, the coyote howler kit had a audio tape in it. We've come out also with another kit now that's got the video in it,
Right.
which you're looking at right now, but it's got a howler along with that little squeaker that Harold had he put in his pocket and when he's deer hunting or whatever. And those are easy products to basically use. The key to it is you got to get to where coyotes are.
Right.
The key to it is you got to get there without them knowing it. Harold, when I think back on the times that we've been coyote hunting, now we went out west last year to deer hunting, and that was the dadgonest thing I've ever seen. We wound up coyote hunting, had more fun doing that, and you know what, Bill? He was talking about always catching him missing. We had 2 different hunts out there in which we caught him doing the missing, and I ain't letting this video get by without sharing that with y'all.
You done it again, Harold?
Well, I'm getting pretty good at that messing. You heard me say a while ago, I like a shotgun during a good rifle.
But you know what? Those coyotes came to us just like that. We caught it on footage. Yeah, and we got Harold missing, and I want to share that with the viewing audience.
Oh, Harold.
This brush country offers some great coyote hunting. Let's join our team as Harold tries to bag one of these elusive predators. This coyote came running to the rabbit squealer. After that miss, Harold and David moved to another area to try their luck again.
Harold, why don't you get right here? I'm gonna get around the bush over there and see if we can call him across this opening.
Once again, we get immediate response to the cottontail rabbit squealer.
I'm gonna tell you something, son. I'm getting tired of calling now. You got to do a little bit of shooting that.
I'm going to the truck and get my shotgun.
That's 2 in a row now today. We done blown the show. So I'm gonna give you one more chance. 3rd strike. That's 2 strikes against you. 3rd one, you're out.
Well, can I get something to shoot more than one pellet?
Well, that's 3 fire when getting that close.
Well, as you can see, old Harold did it again. But you know what? We went out there deer hunting, and I know now why they got all those coyotes out there. That's part of their food chain.
Deer. The whitetail deer is, as I said, we're seeing coyotes now traveling in packs, and that's part of it. And this is a big controversial issue across the country because when the fur prices played out in the 80s, the coyote population it just exploded. We got more coyotes, and now the coyotes are learning how to hunt, which coyotes is into the wolf, how to hunt these deer in packs. And David, I tell you, it's really phenomenal to get out here and see what the coyotes are doing to the whitetail. And as I say, we're passing on some secrets that we've learned here in the last 4 or 5 years. And one of the most effective calls that you can find, and I use it all the time, is our 1004 phone bleed. You get out there blowing and making distress sounds of phone, you better have that shotgun ready because they're going to come in and they're going to come in quick.
Well, when we were out west, one of the things that I found that was very, very important out there, and Harold, I know you did big time. A man needs a pair of good eyeglasses of some kind, of binoculars that can reach out there, whether you're using on the window.
It's not only out west either, Dave. It's around
anywhere.
Here. It's anywhere.
Absolutely.
I like them right there, and I'll tell you why, is because a good pair of binoculars like this right here gets rid of the boogers. And what I mean by the boogers is, you sitting there and you're calling, it's low light, and all of a sudden you look over here, is that a coyote or is that a stump? Or is that a wad of weeds? With these right here, you can identify everything. And that's the first thing I do before I make a sound. I want to learn my area because most people don't even know when they get a coyote to respond to them.
Absolutely.
He'll slip in on you too, Bill.
I mean, he'll come in and sit right there and look at you, and then he'll see that, uh-oh, something ain't right in Denmark, and he's gone. And David, I believe, if the truth be known, and I've hunted with a lot of guys, that most guys might see 1 out of every 5 they call in.
Don't even know it.
Don't even know it.
I've heard, how many times have we been coyote hunting and heard the blue jays go to squalling, the squirrels go to barking, something came up there, he spied us, and we wondered, well, I heard all that, I guess they saw it, but we didn't. We wasn't set up right, didn't play the wind right. You know, there's all kinds of things you can get into from scent or whatever, but I think the most important part of this, we're going to discuss calling, as we end up all these great tips that you've given us, Bill. I think we need to spend time, once again, talking about how to blow that coyote howler, because more people want the howler than anything else. Explain to people exactly how to make that howl.
It's basically pretty simple, and what you want to realize is you've got to bring the air up from your diaphragm with a lot of what I call back pressure, and to do your bark, you just blast it in real quick. Just
all right, now that's easy to do.
Pinch your tube, and you just real quick. And then to get your howl, you just let off the tube and hold there. Instead of blasting it in real quick, you just carry it out. Just.
Well, now I use a call that don't have a tube on it.
Yeah.
And this is one we make and sell. And the way I do with that, I pinch it with my fingers on the end to hold it.
You're still restricting the air.
Right.
You got to restrict it. Exactly. It's all in air restriction, bringing that up. And I mean, just like that. If a guy does that, no problem.
Well, boys, y'all got me fired up. Let's go find something.
I'm ready.
I'm ready to.
You know, David once said he could do anything a coyote could do, especially when it comes to catching a rabbit. Let's take a look.
I wish you'd look. That had to be the fastest rabbit in the world. Because when I grabbed for him, he cramped and ran.
Well, he's out there sunning, wasn't
You see what I got out of that.
he? How you expect us to have anything for supper if you can't do no better than that?
Put that in your mouth.
If you would like a beautiful color catalog of Knight Hale turkey calls and videos, deer calls and videos, elk calls and videos, or moose calls, Knight Hale caps and jackets, duck calls and goose calls and videos, predator and squirrel calls and videos, just write Knight Hale Game Calls, drawer 670, Cadiz, Kentucky 42211, or call 502-924-1755, and we'll send it to you free of charge.